arrived in San Francisco for teacher camp. So you guys come join me. We're going to learn a lot.
The theme of the NSTA conference this year is called The Joy of Science. I have 3 schedules of classes, books, that I have to go through before I get to even start in the conference. These 3 books give me the dates, times of the courses that I can pick. I often have more than 10 courses each hour that I can pick from. I hope I pick them right. That's basically it. The next is the following will be a synopsis of very few of the courses that I went to in order to show you guys the classroom setting as well as the type of instruction that I'm receiving.
See, I told you. You're better than I am.
You're going to end up with for your gender, but just to be true to our model, we want to make it clear that we have a sperm that has 2 choices, 2 alleles possible for sex, and we have an egg that only has 1 possibility. But
when you study it in 1 person, you study it in quite a few people because that cancer will present differently.
Well, I'm learning about the best practices to teach you guys science. The tsunami just hit the coast of California after doing some serious devastation in Japan. So we'll talk about that when we get back to class. Take care.
Emperor scorpion.
So it's hold these?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready? So that's the Emperor scorpion, which you can tell is bioluminescent.
You're on.
Try cricket sucker. Tastes like a Jolly Rancher. Crickets on the inside. So you can test and see how many licks does it take to get to the center of the cricket sucker. Be brave like your teachers. Try the Her name is Ellie. She's a 2-toed sloth. Beautiful. She's big. Yeah. Nice size. How old is she? She's only about 5 years old. So hopefully she'll be with us well into her 20s. We have another one at the park that's well into his 20s. So,
has she had a baby yet?
I believe actually I'm trying to remember. She has. I mean, right now she has a partner, and we're hoping.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if she's reproduced in the past.
Yeah.
It's very possible. You're just determined to remove all the bark. Yes, aren't you? She's back down there again. She's determined to remove the bark.
10 different criteria that I evaluate the essays on, and students get a copy of this rubric. The 7 that I put up here are the ones related to nutrition. The other 3...
It's little w squared, right? So we got to take the square of it. Yes, that's right. Okay, y'all follow? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we now have 8 over 30.
Stuff was, well, how many digits to the right of the decimal point? And of course your calculator gives you 14, and everybody wants to write 14. I go to research meetings where they got all 14 out there, and I'm always asking my colleagues, how big was your sample? And they tell me, and I say, well, what do you remember about significant figures? And there's usually some gulp, because even with 3 it says your sample size is 10,000, and we didn't have the 30 in here, which would tell you it's going to be pretty small. But that can lead to a very interesting discussion about how much precision do you indicate in a number, and what does it mean when you truncate and round off? And most kids.
So now what about your classroom? Now, and that it is global. If our United States is really going to maintain its role as a very powerful nation, We need to have our own mathematicians and scientists, engineers, people involved in technology. We need those people. We cannot continue to just import people for jobs. That's a wonderful thing to do, but we need a grow your own program also. And our schools are huge.
I think they should have changed the theme of the conference this year, not to the joys of science, but to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That seems to be the focus, and it's a new approach to teach science in the classroom. Hey, I'm jazzed and excited about coming to the National Science Teachers Association Conference. I'm really excited about teaching science and about learning some new techniques to take back to school. See you guys in class.
Understand my intentions.
Found 3 brand new ones, and they found ones that were living completely absent from oxygen, and they did not require oxygen to live. So this was a huge deal. People had theorized that they lived, that these existed, but they had not yet identified a species on Earth that actually did prove that. This was the first one. This was discovered in late 2010. So this got right in at the tail end, and this made huge news. This was all over the world. It was big news scientifically. So here's a foraminiferan that was found. This species was always known to exist, but it was found in the Southern Ocean for the first time, and once they started looking for it, they found it everywhere. So apparently it was there the whole time. People just identify species at a molecular level. So this is a genetic breakdown of these species right here. And does anybody have any idea why that would be particularly useful?
Figured out the vitamin D and the most direct reproductive thing that I can think of on that in terms of bone metabolism, strong bones, is that if women don't develop, if their pelvises don't develop correctly, they are going to have difficulty, more difficulty, delivering children.
In science.
You know, using a DNA sample of where you came from, where your ancestors came from, how this is very popular now. And she creates, in that photo on the right, she'll create a whole DNA picture of your history.
On the bottom of the ocean, spitting out atomized oil droplets at incredibly small sizes that it almost looks naked, invisible to the naked eye. So how do we propose to link these kinds of oil samples to these kinds of samples if the molecular distribution is changing, if there's selective preservation of some components and preferential decomposition of others? The traditional methods for oil-oil correlation based on the distribution and abundance of the compounds doesn't work. So there is another technique that you can use, is that every one of these molecules has a distinctive isotope chemistry. Now I know it's getting a little bit heavy, but what we can do is we can measure the chemistry of each of these individual compounds. And if the chemistry, the isotope chemistry of these individual compounds matches these compounds, that's a pretty good indication. And the reason is because biodegradation is not selective to one isotope or another of a given molecule.
Hey you guys, there seems to be 3 factors that mainly influence the ELL student, the English language learner. The number 1 most important factor is parent involvement, and that's what we're getting from this conference. The second important factor, but not most important, is that if they're successful in dual language, meaning that they know the curriculum in their own language, they often are extremely successful in learning it in the English language. And I'm seeing that in my classrooms. And the last thing is that a dual program in English as well as in Spanish or Armenian or French are effective, but not as effective as successful teaching or teaching to the curriculum in an understandable way.
When someone comes to school and they speak a language other than English, their achievement in English over time is not related to how much English they have. It's related to what kind of complex ability they have in their native language.
For the big red X over it, we thought that those were the issues. So then when we read this report, we went, well, that's interesting. So what else can we find out about? The Beat the Odds report was based in elementary schools. So we thought maybe there's a difference in high schools, and maybe there's a difference in middle schools. So the Gaining Traction, Gaining Ground report is an excellent report, especially if you're in high school or middle school. There's a lot of things to find in here. It's available.
Don Trapscott, who wrote the book Grown Up Digitally, states, people aged 11 to 31 use their mobile phones differently. To them, email is old hat. They use their phone to text incessantly, to surf the web, to find directions, to take pictures, to make videos, and to collaborate. It's all about multitasking, speed, privacy, and control.
All right, here we go. Real-time spectroscopy. Another thing we can't afford, but definitely wish we had.
Oh, but you can afford.
This is off a telescope. We're seeing Vega, which is 10 to the 14th miles away, 27 light years. There's a spectrum. There's a hydrogen absorption line right there on the spectrum. We can compare that to a light tube, and here's the light tube that's on the floor right now. We'll rotate it around, and I'm not going to run out of camera and put the hydrogen lamp in there. But again, once again, we can see the spectrum on the left, and we can see the actual absorption or emission lines in this case on the right.
I bought this at a garage sale for $2.
That's so awesome.
The book I told you. So that I have had in my classes, I always have the book. We use the multi-pack. I want to go too far. When you go to Costco, you get, it has a little packages of potato chips. Rubber batting that they use at the bottom of ponds. A little more pricey, it costs about $10 for that sheet.
There's antimony, arsenic, aluminum, selenium, and hydrogen, and oxygen, and nitrogen, and rhenium, and nickel, neodymium, neptunium, germanium, and iron, americium, ruthenium, uranium, europium, zirconium, lutetium, vanadium, and lanthanum, and osmium, and astatine, and radium, and gold, protactinium, and indium, and gallium, and iodine, and thorium, and thulium, and thallium. There's yttrium, ytterbium, actinium, rubidium, and boron, gadolinium, niobium, iridium, and strontium, and silicon, and silver, and samarium, and bismuth, bromine, lithium, beryllium, and barium. There's holmium and helium and hafnium and erbium and phosphorus and francium and fluorine and terbium and manganese and mercury, molybdenum, magnesium, dysprosium and scandium and cerium and cesium and lead, praseodymium and platinum, plutonium, palladium, promethium, potassium, polonium and tantalum, technetium, titanium, tellurium and cadmium and calcium and chromium and curium. There's sulfur, californium, and fermium, berkelium, and also mendelevium, einsteinium, nobelium, and argon, krypton, neon, radon, xenon, zinc, and rhodium, and chlorine, carbon, cobalt, copper, tungsten, tin, and sodium. These are the only ones of which the news has come to Harvard. And there may be many others, but they haven't been discovered.
All right, number one, I thought this was a cool pin. I'm one person in 7 billion people on the planet now. And I'll tell you what, that one person's kind of a lucky guy. Number one, you're going to think this is totally cheesy of me, but I got to take a course with the author of our science book. He gave me a copy, and he signed it, and he gave me a free t-shirt. That's a pretty cool day.
That's a great idea.
All right.
You're on? All right, great.
All right, this is from my students in my biology class. Here is the author.
Well, I hope you enjoy the book, and you have a great teacher. So let me sign that book for you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. All right. There you go.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot.
Good to meet you.
time difference or a delay. There's no one here for my presentation. I'm going home, it's enough.
All right, the end of a long day at teacher camp. This is what some of us do. It's quite obvious that when teachers go to school, they learn really good practices to take back to the classroom. So I've got some new techniques and new technologies to bring back to you guys. I hope to see it, function and work in class. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Little bit to the right.
Is it all done manually?
Stop.
Yeah. Maybe union. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're all historic. From 1874.
These have pushed up to this.
Yeah. Well, that's why they put the cable instead of the horse.
Straight. Straight. What are you doing? Take it straight.
Thank you.